Some of the state money that's given to the school systems is determined on the amount of students who are enrolled in that school system. So the city wants to make sure that the county's not getting any of their money. I asked Dr. Loftus a little earlier for his reaction, and he said that he hopes to meet with Dr. Reynolds later this week and will reserve his comment until that time.
Rebecca, what reasons are parents giving for taking their kids out of city schools and then putting them out in the county?
Well, I spoke with a few parents who didn't want to go on camera but said that the first thing is it's easy. You'd be surprised to enroll a student who is zoned for city into a county school. All you have to do is give an address of a family member or a friend who lives in the county. They said some of the reasons are, first of all, that they feel that the instruction in city schools is inadequate, that some of the teachers are unqualified, that there are racial problems in the city schools, and that with their lack of funding, some of their extracurricular programs are suffering, like sports and music. We're going to talk to some of the board members a little later and ask them to address some of those claims, and we'll have that tonight at 11.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you.
Well, coming up next, area residents are
with Kevin Billingsley.
Good evening. Officials in Bradley County have wrapped up a 3-month investigation with the shutdown of a stolen auto parts ring.
3 men were arrested for operating what's called a chop shop in Cleveland. News Center 12's Rebecca Cook joins us from our newsroom. And Rebecca, where were these stolen cars from?
Well, most of the vehicles were taken from Georgia and here in Tennessee, but officials have recovered paperwork they hope will lead them to stolen cars in Florida, Texas, and other parts of the country. They're very excited about this arrest, but feel it's only the tip of the iceberg. Bradley County Sheriff's officials obtained a warrant Wednesday afternoon, allowing them to search the Blue Springs auto business and property. While they were there, they weren't surprised to find several pieces of stolen automobiles. Sheriff's officials say Blue Springs Auto has long had a reputation for running stolen vehicle parts. In fact, there have been several arrests at this location over the past few years. But this crackdown is expected to put the company out of the chop shop business for good. The owners and operators of the company have been charged with several counts of altering vehicle identification numbers and receiving and concealing stolen property. 48-year-old Grover L. Park, 28-year-old Mitchell L. Park, and 34-year-old Eddie D. Monahan were arrested by authorities at the business yesterday afternoon.
It seems like in particular in this area of Tennessee, we are a very active area for wholesale car dealerships and also the used car business. And so there's been an emphasis placed on the problems associated with that business in the southeast Tennessee area. We were just glad to be able to crack down on this aspect of it and hope to carry it on further.
2 of the men who were arrested have also been charged with possession of illegal drugs with the intent to resell. Authorities have not been able to make an estimate on how much the property that was recovered is worth, but say with future recovery of other cars expected, the total could be in excess of $100,000. For the next few weeks, the Sheriff's Department will be checking all of the paperwork they recovered from the shop to see if they can track down any more cars. But the actual evidence that will be used in the trial will be the parts that authorities have confiscated.
Rebecca, I understand this was a very complicated investigation.
Well, it involved 6 months of surveillance and questioning of local residents. And before it was completed, the entire division of detectives at the Sheriff's Office had been called onto the case, as well as state agents.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. And other news, an internal...
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Rebecca Cook. Darian Ward has the day off. Topping our news, an investigation within the Chattanooga Police Department has raised some questions concerning the arrest of Stephen Dickey. 27-year-old Dickey was arrested in July for allegedly raping an 11-year-old girl after abducting her from Harrison Bay State Park. The investigation revealed that 2 separate complaints were filed against Dickey months before his arrest. A school principal and a parent told detectives Dickey was following some female students near their school and acting in a suspicious manner. Police Chief Gene McCutcheon said if the complaints had been followed up, there would have been a charge against Stephen Dickey before the Harrison Bay incident. That investigation is continuing. Most government offices, schools, banks, and other businesses will be closed on this Labor Day holiday. The city of Chattanooga has announced there will be no regular trash pickup today and no Carta service. City and county students are also taking the day off, and the city of Signal Mountain will not be picking up trash today as well. Well, when a young woman graduates from high school, she has her entire life ahead of her. The possibilities are endless. She can choose college, career, marriage, family, or even travel. But we'd like to introduce you to a young woman who can teach us all a valuable lesson about taking our choices for granted. Mildred Carter graduated from Brainerd High School in 1986 with high hopes. She enrolled in Cleveland State Community College with dreams of a career in law.
She was going in paralegal, and so she kind of had an idea or dreams of going back to school and finishing.
But her plans changed drastically on the night of August 12th. Mildred and a friend were sitting in a car in a restaurant parking lot when two men began fighting. One of the men, later identified as Ricky Lee Adams, allegedly drew a gun and fired, but the bullet missed its target, hitting Mildred instead.
It was like a blue light flashed, and I didn't really know what happened. I just knew my whole body I couldn't move. And then I felt like my neck was broke, and I saw glass everywhere and blood everywhere. Because I really didn't know I had got hit until I looked down and saw the blood, so I really didn't know what happened. It's like everything stopped.
Despite the terrifying ordeal Mildred has been through, she's tried to keep her sense of humor.
Well, when I got in the ambulance attendant said, "Where is Erlanger?" And it kind of made me nervous. I was like, I thought everybody knew where Erlanger was. And he asked, "Well, how do you get in the emergency room?" So I just stayed awake and made sure that he made it to Erlanger and got me into the emergency room.
And the doctors at Erlanger were able to save Mildred's life that night. But unfortunately, because the bullet damaged her spine, they say she will never walk again.
Her sensation is about from the middle of her upper chest, sensation loss all the way down from there. And I'm not sure how well she's going to be able to move her upper extremities, her arms. That would be helpful if she regains some function there. Seems like she has made some improvement with being able to feel like down to her elbows. But I think it's going to be permanent deficit, the paralysis. I'm not sure she realizes that yet, and that's probably healthy that she takes some time to deal with that in her own time.
Mildred said she's not ready to accept life in a wheelchair, and she's already set some goals for herself.
I hope by Christmas I can be able to do some movement or be better than I am now, because I don't want to be like this the rest of my life. December. She said she'll give up the turkey, but she want to come home for Christmas.
In the meantime, Mildred must spend her days and nights in a hospital bed. But the hospital staff is trying to make her stay as pleasant as possible. Mildred was a candy striper at Erlanger a few years ago, so she has many friends nearby.
I talked to some of the volunteer people. Actually, I started noticing them come to her room, and I'd say, "How do you know Midge?" At least that's what I call her, Midge is her nickname. And she'd been a candy striper here for 2 or 3 years, and some of the people in administration had known her through that.
She helped me a lot, with doing the things that I needed her to do. She was always more than willing. And, I'm just trying to repay some of that back.
She's always got that smile, doesn't she?
Every day she has a smile on her face.
Mildred's next step will be rehabilitation. She would like to go to the Shepherd Spinal Center in Atlanta.
If I go to rehab, I might can regain my feeling, or maybe even to walk again, or to use my hands, to do more things for myself and be more independent instead of depending on everybody, because right now it kind of bothers me depending on everybody, to feed me and come do this and come do that. I get frustrated, but I feel like myself since I can't move, but I get mad sometimes and I be happy and I get depressed. It's the same thing.
A fund has been established to help Mildred and her family with medical expenses. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible contribution, send your check to Signal Centers Incorporated, P.O. Box 3238, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37404. Make your checks payable to Signal Centers Mildred Carter Fund. We'll continue to keep you updated on Mildred's progress over the next few months. Well, when News Center 12 at noon returns, Pete Porter will join us with the complete Labor Day forecast. Stay with us.
America's Cup Defense.
And Pete Porter joins us now. And Pete, a lot of people thankful that the sun came out just in time for all those Labor Day picnics. Is it going to stay out?
Yes, it's going to be beautiful the rest of the day. You're talking about that. Paul Gallen and I Saturday night on our 6 and 11 o'clock reports talking about the fact that the weekend was going to get gradually better. Yesterday the sun kind of poked out by late afternoon. Today just a beautiful day for those barbecues. Immediate high of 79, and we're looking for temperatures to be back up into the 80s probably by Friday and Saturday.
Well, that sounds good. Did a good job with those Hawaiian names, Pete.
Yes, Uliki, I think. Yes.
Very good, very good. Sounds good. Thanks, Pete. We appreciate it. Straight ahead, David Neal and Reverend W.C. Hunter will be in the kitchen cooking up a down-home recipe. Stay with us.
See you next week.
When News Center 12 at noon returns, Luther will join us with his community calendar. Also, they say laughter is one of the best forms of medicine around. We'll give you some proof next. Stay with us.
Sleeping on spacious Sealy Comfort now.
And Luther joins us now. Luther, you know, a lot of things were rained out yesterday and got some rescheduling to talk about.
Including that Shoney's and WDEF and 101's back-to-school fishing rodeo they're going to have today from 1 to 6 instead of yesterday or whenever it was.
Fireworks and everything.
That's right, and it'll benefit the Bethel Bible Village, so get on out there and get in on that fishing rodeo. A lot of good prizes. WDEF TV 12 is helping sponsor that. That air show that was canceled over the weekend because of that almost 2.5 inches of rain, they're going to have that this afternoon at 2 o'clock at Camp Jordan. And the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum is not going to be, wasn't rained out. They are going to be open today, Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. And the Lookouts game, is no way that can be rained out tonight. The Lookouts play Memphis at Ingalls Stadium. Would you like to hear some more with things?
I'd love to hear some more.
Okay, here we go. All right, the Lookout Mountain Baptist Church. Buddy Houts and I are going out to help with the muscular dystrophy drive. We're going to help maintain the fishbowl out on the parking lot of Hamilton Place Mall from 1:30 until 2:30 this afternoon.
Well, you better behave yourself out there.
I'll tell Buddy what you say. He's the one you're supposed to say behave.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Luther.
All right.
Well, if everyday life gets you down and stressed out, here's some news that should bring a smile to your face. Doctors say you can reduce stress by adding laughter into your life. Reporter Janine LaCour tells us how you can put this idea to work.
A bit more.
I'm Janine LaCour reporting.
And more good news, studies have found that a healthy laugh can actually decrease the levels of certain hormones that are associated with harmful stress.
Will it grow hair?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, we'll have a final look at our weather right after this.
34.
All right, and Pete's here again. What's the good word on the weather?
Well, I'll tell you, the good word, in fact, Luther a few minutes ago mentioned we'd had nearly 2.5 inches of rain over the weekend, and the lowest point we've been this year. We are now only a little over 7¼ inches below normal for Chattanooga, so that we needed that rain, believe me. What we have going today and tomorrow, lots of...
That sounds great, Pete. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
And Luther, you'll be out and about this afternoon?
You were over at Hamilton Mall with Buddy Houts out on the parking lot.
All right, sounds good. Well, that's it for News Center 12 at noon. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to join Christy Murphy tonight at 6 for all the day's news. Have a great afternoon.
For the past week, we've been telling you the story of a young woman who became an innocent victim. 20-year-old Mildred Carter was struck down by a gunshot last month in the Crystal parking lot on East 23rd Street. News Center 12's Rebecca Cook has been following this story and joins us now with an update. Rebecca, how are Mildred and her family holding up now?
Well, Linda, I met with Mildred's parents this afternoon, and they say she's holding up as well as can be expected, considering the fact that she's paralyzed from the neck down. Right now, Mildred must rely on others to do everything for her, and she's ready to change that. Her next step is rehabilitation, and Mildred's hope for a brighter future lies in Georgia. A room is waiting for Mildred at the Shepherd Spinal Center in Atlanta. The center was founded in 1975 and is the nation's largest rehabilitation hospital dedicated to spinal cord injuries and paralyzing disorders.
If I go to rehab, I might can regain my feeling of maybe even to walk again or to use my hands, to do more things for myself and be more independent instead of depending on everybody, because right now it kind of bothers me depending on everybody, to feed me and come do this and come do that.
At the Shepherd Spinal Center, Mildred will receive the physical and mental support she needs to realize her maximum potential. She'll be taught how to be as independent and productive as possible.
I think she could be helped by a rehabilitation center. We see people all the time that can do wonderful things in a wheelchair. They operate by their mouth or this sort of thing.
Heard a lot of good things from the rehab. Our people, they've said would not be able to walk, and I don't understand how they are able to walk, but I have a feeling I know how. But I feel like she would be able to at least function, if not to walk, at least function.
But Mildred will never know if she can be helped by rehabilitation unless enough money can be raised. If you would like to make a tax-deductible donation, send your check to Signal Centers Incorporated, P.O. Box 3238, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37404, and make your checks payable to Signal Centers Mildred Carter Fund.
Rebecca, I understand there's some urgency in this campaign.
That's right. The Rehabilitation Center needs at least $50,000 up front before Mildred can be admitted to the Rehabilitation Center, and Erlanger has done everything they can for her. So it's really a matter of getting her moved from the hospital to the rehab center.
So how much money has been raised now?
So far, we've got over $2,000, which is certainly good news, but a lot more is needed. And Signal Centers wanted us to point out that all of that money is being used strictly for medical costs, that none of it is being used for administrative costs.
But we will hear more from Mildred and her family next week?
That's right. We're going to be going back to the hospital on Monday to get an update from Mildred and her family.
Well, good. We all wish her very well. Thank you, Rebecca. Well,
Yes, this morning.
Here on TV 12.
This is TV 12, one of the WDEF stations, leaders in news and information. From Chattanooga's first television station, this is News Center 12, Nightside, with Christy Murphy and Bill Ross. Nightside reporter Rebecca Cook, meteorologist David Neal and his Rainbow Radar, and today's sports summary with Kevin Billingsley.
Good evening. Chattanooga's black community is coming forward tonight to help a young woman who became an innocent victim 2 months ago.
20-year-old Mildred Carter was hit by a stray bullet while sitting in the parking lot of a Crystal restaurant.
News Center 12's Rebecca Cook met some local people tonight who want to help Mildred and her family with medical expenses. She joins us from our newsroom. Rebecca, I understand these people want to set aside an entire day for fundraising for Mildred.
That's right, Bill. They're calling it Super Saturday, and they hope to raise enough funds to help Mildred with her enormous medical expenses now and in the years to come. Mildred Carter is fighting her battle to walk again at the Patricia Neal Rehabilitation Center in Knoxville. And while she's working to regain the use of her arms and legs, her medical bills are piling up. Several area groups are holding fundraisers to help Mildred and her family, everything from barbecues to basketball games and skateboarding contests. But more money is still needed, and that need touched some local business leaders who want to pull the black community together to help the young woman.
I think that it's time that the organization of this town get involved with community affairs, especially when it's something of this nature.
We had kicked it around in our organization a number of times since it occurred, and we were trying to we were thinking of a way to make ourselves available for this young lady.
The group has decided to set an entire day aside just to raise funds for Mildred. They've declared November 19th Super Saturday. They're still working out the details, but they plan to spend the entire day raising money for the paralyzed 20-year-old.
We would like to see everyone participate, and also on Super Saturday, which is November 19th, we'd like to see everyone come on down and share in our festivities and give to a worthwhile cause.
In addition to this group's fundraising efforts, a fund has also been established through Signal Centers Incorporated. They're a United Way agency that's designed to help children and adults with physical handicaps. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible contribution, send your check to Signal Centers Incorporated, Post Office Box 3238, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37404, and make your checks payable to Signal Centers Mildred Carter Fund. Bill?
Rebecca, you've been following this story from the very beginning. How widespread is community support for Mildred Carter?
Well, you know, it's been very exciting to see. Just in the past 2 months, more than $10,000 has been raised. And although that's just a drop in the bucket, it certainly has been encouraging to see this support pour in from the community.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. Contract talks between the Chattanooga Symphony Association and the Musicians Union are getting down to the nitty-gritty. Last Friday, the association put forth a proposal that included pay cuts. This afternoon, negotiators from both sides are meeting at Memorial Auditorium to try to work out their differences. News Center 12's Rebecca Cook is there. Rebecca, are they making any progress?
Very much up in the air, although some progress has been made. Union members have apparently agreed to accept a 20% cut in pay. There's still a dispute, though, over a one-year contract proposal. The problem seems to be that the union members and the Symphony Board have very different ideas about this contract. I spoke with one of the board members about this issue just about an hour ago.
Contract, that's correct. See, one of the basic differences is that they feel there is a contract in existence and we don't, okay? They feel that there is an existing contract, and we feel that there isn't. And that's an extremely important point. They're in a position of wanting to rely on that in terms of a grievance that they have, and this is what they're telling me. I'm not trying to put words in their mouth. And an NLRB claim. So it's important as to whether or not a contract exists.
Now, the union has another meeting scheduled to get underway in just about an hour. They're trying to work out these problems because they'd like to be able to start their season with an opening concert on October 27th. But it looks like they have a long way to go until we reach that point. Bill?
Well, Rebecca, the association had set a deadline of 6 o'clock for getting this whole thing worked out. Are they going to extend that deadline now?
Well, we still don't have any idea. The board members came out of the building just about an hour ago, and we asked them about that, and they said that they really were going to try to stick to that 6 o'clock deadline, although union members are expected to meet at 7 o'clock to talk about the progress that has already been made. And, of course, they're hoping that the board members will give them a little more time. We'll just have to ask them about that when they get here in about an hour.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. It's been more than 3 months since the brutal triple murder on Signal Mountain.
3 men who left home on July 9th for a ride on their 3-wheelers were found shot, their bodies dumped off a cliff.
Police have been investigating the case since then, but so far there have been no arrests. News Center 12's Rebecca Cook has been following this story. She joins us from our newsroom to tell us about a news conference held this morning in connection with the case. Rebecca, does the Sheriff's Department have any new information?
Yes, Bill. Unfortunately, though, it's not about an arrest, but they hope it will lead to one. Today's briefing was about an increase in the reward fund. You may recall the governor's office has offered $5,000 to anyone with information that leads to a conviction. And Crime Stoppers has also offered an additional $1,000. Now, an anonymous donor has announced he will add $1,300 to the fund, raising the total to $20,000.
We hope that this will bring some people forward that might have seen something, that might not think it's anything, but we'd like to follow out any and all leads. Our detective department has interviewed some 175 people in this case. They've worked day and night on it, and we'd certainly appreciate any information we could get.
Detectives are looking for information or evidence that will tell them what happened on the night of July 9th to 49-year-old Richard Mason, his son-in-law, 22-year-old Kenneth Griffith, and 23-year-old Earl Smock. The 3 men were last seen leaving home around 6 o'clock that night on their 3-wheelers. They never returned. Rescue workers began searching for the men following the dirt road they were seen traveling. Police found an area where they believed the men ran into foul play. There were signs of a struggle, and blood and human tissue were found nearby. The men's 3-wheelers later turned up, covered with blood at the bottom of a hill off Roberts Mill Road. It was 3 days later that the bodies were found by a resident in Marion County near Suck Creek Road. They were dumped off the side of a road nearly 5 miles away from where the men were believed to have been murdered. Investigators say they're looking into several possible motives for the triple murder, that the men may have become involved in some sort of a property dispute, or that they stumbled onto a marijuana patch or a drug deal. But they have not turned up enough evidence yet to make an arrest.
We don't have enough evidence. When we get enough evidence, we're going to make an arrest. But that evidence is going to have to be so much that the Attorney General is going to have to say, we've got enough to indict, we've got enough to convict.
The Sheriff's Department hopes this $13,000 increase in the reward money will encourage someone who might have seen something that night to come forward. If you have any information for the investigators, call 698-3333. That number again, 698-3333.
Rebecca, are they any closer to making an arrest?
Well, the sheriff was very reluctant to talk about details today because he doesn't want to jeopardize the case, but says they do have at least 3 or 4 suspects. He's still waiting for that crucial piece of information, though.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. And the donor who offered the additional money for the reward fund asked to remain anonymous, but told Sheriff's Department officials he had an interest in seeing the...
Today's Sports Summary with Kevin Billingsley.
Good evening. The Chattanooga Symphony and its musicians appear to be at a stalemate tonight.
The 2 sides are locked in negotiations for the 1988-89 season. The Musicians Union met tonight to discuss the Symphony Board's latest proposal. News Center 12's Rebecca Cook has just returned from that meeting. She joins us from our newsroom. And Rebecca, I understand the group still hopes they'll be playing again soon.
That's right, Bill. And tonight they're encouraged because the Symphony Board has extended the deadline to noon tomorrow, which some union members say must mean they're willing to continue negotiations. The Chattanooga Symphony has been racked with financial problems for years. This season, the Symphony announced it would have to make drastic cutbacks or lose the entire 1988-89 concert schedule. The board decided to propose a 20% salary cut for core orchestra members. And for the past several days, the Musicians Union and the association have been in negotiations. Several proposals were rejected, and the board announced its final recommendation with a 6 o'clock deadline for acceptance by the union.
We're all people of goodwill, and we want to see this season continue if we can. It's very difficult to consider going on without a contract at all. There still is some time.
Union members have now agreed to take the 20% pay cut, but say they still feel they're being asked to give up their rights.
The only thing that stands between this community and the orchestra having a season is that one item. They demand that we give up our rights.
Now both sides appear to be deadlocked, refusing to budge either way. But union officials say they're encouraged.
I got my hopes up. I don't know why they would extend the deadline then if they're not planning to make any change.
Mr. Watkins and other union members say they hope to hear from the Symphony Board either late tonight or early tomorrow morning about their reaction to the union's decision. Bill?
Rebecca, what choices do the musicians have?
Well, there seem to be two choices on both sides. Either the Symphony will begin playing with the season opener on October 27th, or the season will be canceled.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Meanwhile, good evening. Voters in Catoosa County are asking questions tonight about one of the candidates running for Georgia State House.
The controversy centers around Republican Robert Cagle. News Center 12 has obtained information that suggests Cagle was convicted of attempted murder nearly 25 years ago. News Center 12's Rebecca Cook joins us from our newsroom. And Rebecca, if Cagle were convicted of this felony, it could make him ineligible for office?
That's right. When Cagle decided to run for this office, under Georgia election laws, he had to file a declaration of candidacy, stating he had never been convicted of a felony. And Robert Cagle signed this document on June 1st of this year. But according to Catoosa County court documents, a Bobby Cagle was convicted of attempted murder 24 years ago. August 21st, 1964, police are called to Chattanooga International Raceway. Two men have been attacked by a man with a knife. A week later, Bobby Cagle is arrested and charged with attempted murder. 6 months later, he is convicted of the charge and sentenced to 5 years probation. Attempted murder is a felony, and according to Georgia law, any person convicted of a felony is ineligible to hold office in the state of Georgia. We asked Robert Cagle if he is the same Bobby Cagle named in the indictment. He said he would not answer that question, but would address the issue at his press conference tomorrow afternoon. His opponent, Democrat Ken Poston, said he would reserve his comment until later as well. We checked with the Georgia Secretary of State's office. They told us they were conducting an investigation into the case, but would not comment on any details. If Robert Cagle is found to have made false statements on his candidacy declaration form, he could face another felony charge, false swearing, which carries a maximum 5-year prison term and a $1,000 fine.
Rebecca, even if Cagle has been convicted of a felony, is there any way he could still run for office?
Well, Georgia law states that if the person's civil rights have been restored, he can be eligible for office. And according to the Georgia State Board of Pardons and Parole, Cagle has filed to have his civil rights restored, but we have no word on whether or not that has been done.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Walker County Sheriff Mike.
This is TV 12, one of the WDEF stations, leaders in news and information.